Okay. So yeah, she'll write up the stories and we'll basically record for her and take some pictures. And then we've talked to a few elders so far, and then we put it on our Shoalwater Bay website, and then all your kids and grandkids, they get it. That's how we got in contact. We were contacted. Your daughter thought you'd be great, and I said, heck yeah, we would love to come down and talk to you.
Oh,
so
you talked to my daughter?
Yeah.
Georgia?
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Chad.
Chad, yeah.
Yeah, so we talked to him a bit on Facebook, because a lot of tribal members are talking through Facebook and stuff. And so they thought it'd be great, because they saw we were talking to elders.
Okay.
And so I was like happy when I heard about you. And so we thought, let's come down and talk to you. Now, what is your age?
I'm 93.
So, let me get my pin here, if I can find it.
Now, what family are you from?
The Shipmans.
Chipman.
Yeah.
The last time I was with the Chipman was when I went to Seattle to have an examination to go into the service at World War II. What is his name now? About my age.
Okay, there's a Vernon Shipman, would have
That's
been around your age?
Probably Vernon, yeah.
Yeah, that's my grandfather.
Oh, is it?
He was also in World War II. He was a Navy man.
Yeah. Well,
So-
he got called in then.
Yeah,
I got called, but it got deferred
okay.
because I was climbing in a logging camp, and they deferred some of the loggers, like the climbers and that, because they were hard to get men, you know.
Oh, yeah. And they're
So
important
they deferred the
industries.
climbers.
So, yeah, it must have been Vernon. He would have been about that age. And I'm actually named after him. My name is Vernon Kevin Shipman. And when I wrote to your daughter, I said, what would be some good questions to ask you? Because I didn't know for sure some good questions. One of the questions she thought would be good was to ask you about the chokeberry in the cemetery at Shoalwater Bay.
Oh, you mean the chokeberries?
Yeah,
We
chokeberries.
call them shockberries.
Chalkberries.
Choke those.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the real name is choke.
Okay.
Whatever, we call them chalk. Chokeberries when we were young. They accused us of getting the best ones on the cemetery.
Okay. And how old were you then?
Oh, we were about, that was in their late 20s. That was, I was about 9 years old.
And you hung out at the Shoalwater Bay quite a bit?
Oh, we lived down there in the summertime. See, we lived in South Bend.
Oh, yeah.
We'd go down there when my brother and I would go down there and stay with my uncle,
Oh.
George Rogers, and Lovey, his wife, lived on the reservation. Ivan Bishop and Juanita Armstrong lived on the reservation. My grandfather, Ben Armstrong.
Oh, your grandfather's Ben Armstrong.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he had a logging camp there on the reservation. He had a cookhouse and a bunkhouse and everything for the loggers there. Yeah.
And so you'd go visit.
Roland Charlie and Mitchell and Stanley Charlie, I can remember them.
Yeah, they were part of like my great-great-great-grandfather is Chief Charlie.
Yeah.
And did you ever have a chance to meet the old chief?
Yeah.
And
The old chief, when did he die?
he died, it seemed like in the...
In the early 30s, was
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I think you're right on that.
Because I remember going to see him, and he was on his deathbed, and he had a bunk built on a wall. He was laying in the bunk bed. I can remember it. And they had a fish stew cooking on a stove, and a big kettle like that. I can remember that. And the old fellow was just laying in bed. Yeah.
And was that on the Shoalwater Bay?
Yeah, that was in Shoalwater Bay.
So you went there as just
That
a
was
little
right
kid.
close to where George Rogers lived.
Okay. So he lived close by there.
Pardon?
Yeah, he lived close by there, and then maybe it was close to also where my grandma lived. Rachel Whitish.
Rachel, I probably played with her when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. She was hanging out there on the.
She's old now, my age, isn't she?
She would be.
She passed on.
Yeah, she passed on a while ago.
Yeah.
But she would have been a contemporary. She would have been.
Some Charlie girls.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Roland's had a couple girls, didn't he?
Yeah, and we have Patsy, which we interviewed as an elder a while ago, who was part of that family. Like, her name is Patsy Sanchez today, but they would be like with the Nina Baumgartner. So that's way back. Would be your generation.
I can remember Roland Charlie had a big plum tree out in his yard. And when we were kids, we'd go over there and the plums would be ripe and they'd drop on the ground and they'd split open and the yellow jackets would just swarm in there on them.
Oh,
and we'd get in and eat those, brush yellow jackets away. They didn't sting us or anything. Right. Just brush them away and eat those green gauge plums. They were so good. Sweet, I can remember that. Oh boy.
Back when you were what age?
Oh, I was probably about 7, 8 years old then.
Oh, so you were really young. And what was it like there on the reservation? How would you describe it? I know there wasn't a lot of people around or a lot of cars.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fun. We were kids then. All we did was play.
Yeah, I think your daughter called you free-range children. Free range? She said something like you were, free-range children. You just wandered.
We brought ourselves up. We grew up by ourselves, yeah.
And why was that, you think?
Well,
because it's the same with my dad. They were free-range children, and also my generation. We were pretty much that way too. So I totally identify because that's the way we were as well. So.
Well, my grandfather was gassed on a tugboat on the Willapa Bay.
Oh my.
They were hauling the raft out of Cedar River. You know where Cedar River is?
Okay, Cedar River.
Okay. They were hauling a raft of logs out of Cedar River for Case's Mill Company. And he went to sleep on the way home, on the trip back home, towing that raft of logs. It takes a long time to tow that raft of logs to South Bend. And he went to sleep on the bunk, and his partner was driving the boat, and he rolled off the bunk. Then he breathed all that bilge, gasoline and oil, and it gassed him. By the time he got to home, it was gone.
And so that was before you were 8 years old?
Yeah, I was 4 years old then.
Okay.
No, yeah, I was 4 years when my father was killed, yeah.
Did you hear stories about your father, of how he grew up?
Oh yeah, my father, yeah. But my mother was the Indian part.
Oh, your mother was the native.
She was Ben Armstrong's oldest daughter. My mother was. And Liza was her second daughter. She was married to the Westport Life Saving Station captain there for a long time. Hillman Pearson. Maybe you know some of his boys.
Good, I know the name,
family. Pearsons.
Yeah, the Pearson family.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know that name definitely.
Well, they're my cousins. We didn't see them much when we were down and when we were kids though. They were over in Westport and we didn't travel much around in those days. When we were little kids, when we got to Georgetown from South Bend, we pretty much stayed right there. Didn't go anyplace.
And probably, I would imagine, you traveled by water?
Oh yeah. We went from South Bend to Oakland on a Independence Ferry.
There was no highway like there is today.
No. When I was first going to the reservation, we had to go to Chehalis from South Bend, and then from Chehalis to Olympia, and then back to Montezano and Aberdeen, and then down. That's when we got a shorter way to. That's when the ferry went out then.
Did they take horses? much at all in those days, or was it just by boat?
We traveled by boat mostly. We learned how to row pretty good when we were kids.
Yeah.
We used to row after I grew a few more years older. We drove, my brother and I would row from South Bend down to Georgetown Slough, we called it Georgetown Slough, and make camp, pitch a tent, and peel bark, peel Chatham bark. We drove 10 miles down from South Bend, just kids, peel bark. We
And,
make about 50 cents a day then.
Did you row across the bay then?
We rode down the bay.
You rowed down the bay.
Down the bay from South Bend
Okay.
to Tokeland.
And it was like a rowboat. Did you ever see canoes?
Pardon?
Did you ever see canoes?
We saw canoes, but they were pretty much gone when we were kids. We've heard stories about them, before but mostly rowboats when we were skiffs, like we call them skiffs.
And you guys must have been tough. You guys must have been strong. Can you imagine?
And for a tent in those days, when we pitched a tent, we just put some stakes in the ground and throw a sheet of canvas over the top of it. They didn't have tents like they do now, not near. We called that our home, We lived outside most of all summers.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
And so you could find a job there with the bark, taking the bark, make some money, hang out with family on the bay there, have a good time, it sounded like.
Oh, we had a great time. That's a great time to grow up. We had a great... My mother never did want to get married again because she didn't want her kids to have a stepfather. So she worked out. And so we grew up by ourselves mostly in South Bend and down on the reservation. We'd go down there and stay with my uncle and
What was the name of your uncle?
George Rogers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was he Shoalwater Bay native, or did he marry a native?
No, he was a white man.
Okay.
And
married a native.
he married my mother's sister,
Your mother's sister, and what was her name?
Lovey,
And what was your mother's name?
Mary.
Mary, okay.
Her oldest brother was named Charlie, and her youngest brother was named Eddie. And she had two other sisters. One was named Lottie and Nita.
Okay. And what was your birthday?
My birthday was May 26th, 1918.
And where were you born?
I was born in Raymond.
Okay, in Raymond.
Yeah.
Now, these are the questions that my niece likes to ask. She likes to ask you what your favorite color is.
My favorite color is green.
Okay, you like green? Is there a reason?
I like the green trees and the green grass and...
She'll be very happy I asked that question.
Oh, yeah.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 3 brothers and 1 sister.
And 1 sister. That's one she likes me to ask. If you were thinking of the children on the reservation now, we have a lot of children. Do you have any advice you would like to give them?
Only to be good to the mothers and fathers. Stay out of trouble. Stay away from the dope and even stay away from the cigarettes and the alcohol and all that. Grow up, go to school, and go to college if they can and make something with themselves. Work hard.
Oh, and a little more what it was like on the Shoalwater Bay back in those days?
What it was like?
Yeah, sort of what it was like during your summers there, or what sort of things did you do?
Well,
other than, I know you worked...
lots of swimming, right across from there, just as you go into the meeting hall there, off to the right there, used to be a swimming hole there. I don't know if it's still there or not.
We still have swimming places there. I used to do it myself.
Yeah, it was kind of a slough that ran almost up to the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it was shallow. It went dry in the summertime, in low tide, And then the tide would come in over that warm sand, and that water we'd get in that. It was a big pool, like a big pool, and we'd swim. Oh, it was the best time in that pool. I remember that all.
And who were you with swimming usually? Like, who were the people you were swimming with, the other kids?
Oh, all of my cousins and all the Indian kids that were around there. Of course, I don't know much anymore.
Right, but there were a lot. They sort of all just descended on there and would have fun. It sounds like.
Do you
know.
remember that? Is that still there?
It's still there. When I was a kid, we did the same thing. What we also did, we built little pontoons. We took hammers and nails, and we found driftwood.
Oh, yeah.
And then we put boards on them, and then we would stand on the board and go around the bay like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
Great. That's fun, yeah.
Yeah, we did that. Just build our own little boats or whatever. And that's what I remember from my childhood.
One time I remember my Uncle George Rogers, the Tokeland School put out bids for their winter wood, you know, and the people around there would bid to see who, and the school would see who got the lowest bid.
Right.
So George Rogers and my grandfather got the lowest bid one year, and they cut the wood. They cut it out back. They had a logging camp out back, out on Cedar River, and they'd haul. They cut the wood. Of course, they had a real good chance to get the wood because they were logging, you know, and they'd saved all the good wood logs, like the dry snags, like the dry fir snags, and the cedar. They'd cut cedar wood and fir, mostly fir. They'd haul it in over the hill from the camp from Cedar River there on a sled, horse and sled, and they'd take it to Tokeland on a sled and put it in a woodshed down at Tokeland, and they had me and George's oldest boy. His name was George also. They had me and George pile of wood, but George got mad at us for piling the wood because we made too many air spaces in it. You got to get it tight. But that way it takes more wood, see, and George was thinking, we're going to have to cut more wood if you guys pile it like that, because you know how they measured wood by the cord, you know. And they had, if we piled it tight, it would take more cords.
Oh, so you were piling it tight.
Yeah, and so
I get
so
it.
George got mad at us.
He wanted you to loosen it up a bit.
Yeah.
That makes
You
sense.
guys, he was going to cut our wages. I think he paid us about a nickel a day.
Wow, I would say packing it just right is a good thing. So what happened when you were a teenager? So what did you do as a young teenager?
A teenager.
Yeah.
We still would. My brother and I would still row to Eden, North River, Smith River, and camp out and cut and peel bark.
Oh, you did that a lot then.
Oh, yeah, even when we were teenagers, yeah.
Okay.
And that was make a little money to buy school clothes, you know, because we didn't have nothing.
So you were very poor.
Very poor.
And where did you go to school?
We went to school in South Bend.
Yeah, and was it a large school, pretty small school?
Oh, that was about 150 students overall from that is from the 6th grade to the 9th grade. 12th grade.
Right.
6th grade to the 12th grade. About 150 students.
And then what happened? Did you have any bad experiences in school?
Yes.
Yes,
we did. We grew up in school and we had some racial problems, you know.
And why would you have racial problems?
Because we were part Indian.
Right, and people would make fun of you, or?
Well, we were the last to go on a party with the school kids, the last in line for a party. The kids were having a party at school. We were the last one chosen for a ball game or whatever, you know. We were the last people chosen for anything. It wasn't good. But after we got so we could play baseball and football pretty good, the kids kind of got over that because we were some of the best players they had.
Oh, really?
So they took us right in then.
So excelling in sports showed them, hey, maybe we should rethink this thing. But I'm sure it was really hard for your brothers and sisters.
It was
and
hard
cousins.
for my mother too to put up with that, you know.
Yeah. Would she have talks with you and try to make you feel better?
Oh yes, oh yeah.
What would she tell you?
Oh, she would tell me just don't get fighting with anybody over it. Stay cool as much as you can.
Right. And she would encourage you.
She encouraged us to just go ahead and mind our own business.
And she must have instilled in you to excel and do better.
That's right.
You know, because it sounded like you did
That's
very
what
well.
we did, yes.
Yeah. Just push yourselves hard to do good in sports. Is that what she
Yeah.
sort of did? And to
Yeah.
also do good in your schoolwork. So did your brothers and sisters, were they good at school, or do you think they were very good, or saw that as something they should do?
Well, we were so poor that my oldest brother, he had to quit school and help take care of earn a little money to take care of the family. He got a job. My mother was going with a fellow that was a machinist at the old mill there in South Bend, and he taught my oldest brother how to weld. So he took my oldest brother with him down to Vernonia, Oregon, to a big logging camp down there, and put my brother to work, helping him down there in the machine shop. And my brother would send home money to my mother to help take us care of us. And my sister oldest sister was the same way, but she was younger. She was 5 years older than I, but after she got old enough, she would work out and help my mother too. You know, help her clean houses for these rich people. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like they really made a sacrifice, your brother and sister, for you guys. They really made a sacrifice for you.
Yeah, they did. I was the only one that graduated from high school out of the whole family.
And then, who was the first one that went to college?
Oh, my oldest daughter, Gail. She's 73 now. My
Your daughter.
second daughter was second to go to college. That's Georgia. She went to Southern Oregon School and learned how to be a teacher. She taught school for quite a while, several years. Then she married Tom Fryback. And my boy went to school, and he did really good in school. He got his doctorate degree. Yeah. He's the one that lives in Silverton. He comes and see me all the time. So he's got a nice home over there. And he and his wife have 2 boys, and one of them is a head chef at a big restaurant in Seattle.
So you have a very successful generation, don't you? You were so poor, and then it must make you really proud to see the success of this generation.
Yeah. I heard you fellas were coming to see me, and so I tried to remember some of the things that happened. Well, one thing happened. My father had a logging camp, and he had a cookhouse right out there on the reservation, and a bunkhouse and the whole works. My sister was a flunky down there then, you know, a flunky that helped do the dishes, pick up and serve the loggers, you know, and all that. Well, my grandmother was very tight, and she had a big bunch of bananas there on the table, and my sister said to herself, I'm going to get a couple of those bananas and take George over to the logging camp in the morning. So she took those bananas and she put them, 2 bananas, and they wore long stockings then. And so she took one banana and put down one leg, and then the banana, she walked out and said, well, come on, George, we're going to go over the hill. And we got partway over, and she pulled up her dress and pulled down her stock. The banana. She said, George, I got a banana for you.
He didn't know
I'll
what to think.
never forget that one.
He didn't know what to think.
And I don't. She never did say whether her grandmother missed the bananas or not.
That must have been a valuable thing, a banana or an orange.
In those days, that was like ice cream or something, you know.
Would
And
be
I
like a
remember
big-
Dexter. He was our best friend.
Oh, was he?
Dexter.
Oh.
We'd get a nickel or something to go down there, and he'd have all that soda pop piled in the soda pop cartons they had those days. They had separate places for each bottle, and he'd have them piled up against the wall there. And he had strawberry and grape and lemon lime, all the root beer and all those flavors. And we'd have our nickels there, and we'd look at those boxes, and it'd take us an hour to pick out. And it was warm too, you know, but that didn't matter to us. They had no refrigeration, yeah. Yeah, it was still a treat. And the candy bars, he had the candy counter there, and we'd look at that candy and just look at it and stare at it, although we didn't have enough money to buy much of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it must have been hard to be so poor,
Yeah.
you know, just not having enough. How did you make it?
Everything we could do, pick berries, you know. Lots of those evergreen berries around there. And in the summer when they'd get ripe, there was a cannery there that bought our berries. We might maybe make $1 a day, maybe, if we had a good day, you know.
And you would work hard the whole day?
Work hard the whole day. And but maybe that would help buy a pair of shoes or a shirt or, you know, all the money we earned went for our clothing mostly.
Because that would be even harder going to school in front of the kids and stuff.
That's right. The other kids would have nice clothes, you know.
Yeah.
And we weren't ashamed of our clothes. That's one thing my mother said. Don't be ashamed of your clothes. There's lots of patches on them. My mother would sew patches on patches. But she said, don't be ashamed of your clothes. We never were.
Right. Yeah, you stood proud no matter what. Because you probably knew how hard it was to get those clothes.
Yeah.
So what did you do for entertainment? Did you have a television
No,
or anything?
no.
Radio?
No. Well, we didn't have radio down there.
Oh.
Some of the people in our town would have radio, you know. I don't think we got a radio until I went to high school. And I bought our first radio when I went to work after I got out of high school. I got a job with the highway department.
Okay. So that sounds like a good job.
Well, my father-in-law I was going with a girl who was a foreman on a highway department, and he got me the job.
Oh.
I was going with his daughter, see, and it was still hard times then. It was still in the late 30s then, you know. The other men didn't think too much of that because I got the job I was working, and some of them weren't working.
Right. Yeah, it's just good. Like President Thomas Jefferson, he married good. So did Washington.
Yeah.
That's how you get it. That's how you do it sometimes. So now in high school, did you play sports?
Oh, yes.
And what sports did you play?
Football and basketball.
Okay, and you must have done really well in those.
Yeah, we did. My brother was a star. My brother was 2 years older than I, and he grew up. He never did graduate, but he played until he was 19. After 19, you couldn't play anymore.
Okay.
But he still had one more year to go to school after he was 19, so he couldn't play his last year. But he was a star there for a couple years.
So you worked in the highway, and then what happened after that?
Well, I married his daughter then.
Oh, okay. So you made a good marriage as well.
Yeah.
That's good.
See, I met my wife when I was 3 years old, and she was 6 months old. Well, they were working down on the Straits in Willapa Bay, you know.
Oh.
You know where the Straits are,
The Straits.
where Baby Island is and all that.
Yeah.
Baby Island. Well, they were logging over on the mainland then, and my girlfriend, the baby's father, was logging there, and he lived in a little house there on the bay, and he was working in one of those logging camps. And his wife called my mother one day and said, "You have to come down," and told my mother, "You have to come down and see our baby." And I was 6 months old, or 6 years old. So my mother took me down to see the baby, and it turned out to be my wife.
See, that's a coincidence.
We went to grade school together and high school together, and then we got married. I was 22 and she was 19. We lived together 67 years.
So you had a good, fulfilling marriage, it sounds like. And then what happened after? What was your next job?
Oh, then I went logging.
Okay, then you were a logger for most of your life.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty normal in Raymond, isn't it? I think there's oyster people. There were a lot of.
Yeah, well, we worked on oysters a lot when we were in high school.
Oh, did you do that too?
Yeah, we used to pick them, at night. In those days, they picked them by hand, Now I think they dredge them mostly now with dredges. But we picked them and then we opened them at the cannery.
Okay.
We learned how to do all that work. Then we started buying all of our own clothes then,
You were getting more money.
Get more money.
Okay, let's take a little break. I want to see if my recorder's doing good. Hello. Okay, hello. Okay, we heard a really good story about that he told that Gus Davis could pitch so fast it could go through like a brick wall.
And he tried out for the Seattle Rainiers.
Yeah, he tried out for the Seattle Rainiers.
Professional baseball team.
Yeah, they were so good, and Roland Charlie and that whole, Chief Charlie, they started that baseball team, and they had a big doings at Bay Center, and they would their canoes across the bay, and they would play them.
They played against South Bend. The native team would come and give the white team a whooping.
Yeah, they would.
That was what they did every year.
And that was one of really the joys.
The highlights of their years.
Yeah, is to do that.
Beating the white team.
So then, of course, you had a long and fulfilling marriage, which sounds really good. You're very proud of your family.
Oh, yeah.
How they. It sounds good. And after you did logging, did you do something other than logging?
Yeah, I logged until 1958. Then there was a fella in Raymond that wanted me to go building houses with him. So I learned a little about building when we were off logging in the wintertime and all that. I would get a job helping build. I'd get a job with the builder and help build, So I learned a little bit about it. And he took me down and we moved to Medford. We both moved our families to Medford, Oregon.
Oh.
And we built 26 new homes down there. 3-bedroom homes.
So that's how you sort of got to this area.
Then Mike, Georgia graduated from Medford down there, and Greg, both. My oldest daughter was in Washington State College then. That was her first year over there. And Georgia and Greg both graduated from Medford. And then they both got married and moved north. And eventually Greg and his wife got there to Silverton, and Georgia got to Portland. So that's why I'm here. Wanted me to move closer to them. See, I lived in Medford all alone. My wife had passed away in 2005. That's been about 5-6 years ago. And so Greg and Georgia wanted me to move closer to them, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, you have a family that really loves you, it sounds like,
Yeah.
And when Georgia talked about you, she sounded very excited and very happy about you. So you're very lucky.
And Georgia is something else.
Is she?
She is a great lady.
Yeah. She sounds very nice. She sounds very supportive.
Yeah.
And she talked to Misty, my niece, a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And she was real happy and supportive. So that was pretty cool, I thought. So we really appreciate you speaking with us, and hopefully we'll get another time to talk with you and come visit you sometime.
Well, I hope I can
But-
go to the meeting next August.
Yeah.
General counsel.
Yeah, definitely. Have you been to many general
It's
council?
been, I think, 4 years since I've been to one of those meetings.
Okay. So it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, you're always welcome up on the bay, and if you're there, we'll certainly say hi.
I know that.
Come to us and tell us hi, and we'll,
It's a great bunch of people.
Yeah, they're really,
Great.
yeah, they really
I
are.
always enjoy going up there.
Yeah, and we brought you a gift, and Brant can present
you
it
did?
to you. Yeah, we brought you. My sister's a real artist, and she prepared this for you as a gift. It's an eagle.
Oh boy.
It's an eagle feather.
Is that the?
It's a real eagle feather. Yeah.
It is that.
And
great.
these are all eagle feathers.
Oh,
she prepared
boy.
that, and
That is wonderful.
yeah, and we really appreciate you speaking with us. And we'll,
That is great.
yeah.
Boy, oh boy. Thank you
Oh,
much.
yes.
Thank
Yeah, that's
you
from the
very
Shoalwater
much.
Bay tribe, and
I'll keep that the rest of my life.
certainly. So yeah, that's cool. And we really appreciate it. You need to do any
That's great.
Yeah, I'm curious.
maybe you
about,
hold the feather, or
Yeah, that'd be great. What is this piece of art you got over here on the lamp over here? This it looks like a little kind of like a dream catcher that you've got over here.
oh, the art.
Yeah, I'm curious where you.
Yeah,
where you
that's from the reservation.
Is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. He gave it to me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Some of the kids up there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
They also made that.
The blanket.
Oh, yeah, I recognize that. That was probably given to you at a general council or something.
That
I
what?
imagine. Or when you were up at the Shoalwater Bay, they gave that to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice.
Which everybody likes it. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
comes in here.